Now, some of the popular and indeed very valid reasons as to why most of the people would actually advocate for you to learn and use this new technology, the AI, is mostly because of it enhances your productivity to make you do even better. There are issues of it potentially replacing your job, and you learning how to use it is actually some form of security, or even because it's a trending subject. And valid as those may be, there are other reasons that I think we rarely talk about, which, if you ask me, are one of the reasons which make you adapting to this technology actually non-negotiable. And so in this video, I'm going to share just two of those that I think you should keep in mind. And stick around to the end of this video, because after I give those two reasons, in addition to the ones that I've already mentioned, I'm going to give just a very simple approach that I think would be helpful for you to actually adapt adequately and efficiently to this technology. So if that is something that is good for you, then just stick around. Now, the first reason as to why you should consider adapting efficiently to this technology is because of the nature of the technology. The part of this technology that most of us are interacting with, in as much as it has actually been existing for quite some time, is mostly these foundational models, especially the large language models like ChatGPT and Claude, Gemini, and all of those. They are foundational models because they are trained on a large set of data. They are not so specific to one task like traditional machine learning models. And this is actually the reasons as to why they have a very widespread impact. Now, one of the ways that I would like you to think about impact is impact can be positive and it can be negative. Now, the issue is if you don't learn AI, you will discover that you may not reap so much of the positive impacts of it. And in case you don't need most of its positive impact, then okay, that's all right, that's okay. But the issue is AI is here to stay. It is affecting you in your industry. And one of the things that I can guarantee you in is because you do not operate in a vacuum, you will definitely meet some of its negative impacts. So the negative impacts that AI has to bring are those that are going to affect you. Now, when I mean wide, I actually mean wide. See, even just on a personal level, AI has the ability to affect your spiritual life. It has the ability to affect your relationships, your education, your productivity, and so many things, both positively and negatively. And the negative impacts are very significant that you cannot stay away from them. Just to give an example, for example, on this channel, mostly you will discover that I'm very passionate about education. So if I was to speak to educators for a minute, if you just do your research, you will discover that there are actual implications that students or pupils who are using AI, that the implications that happen on their brain and their ability to learn, their ability to think critically is actually affected. It is being demonstrated, and that is very, very important. Now, if you are an educator who cares about your students, it is definitely going to be a very bad thing for you not to be aware of such things, because you're not going to be able to guide your students in the right direction. And if you're an educator, most probably you're also going to be using this. And do you know how it is going to be affecting your output, how it is going to be affecting your effectiveness in teaching? Most of the times you will just look at the positive impacts that it has, but have you really thought about the negative ones? And that's the tricky part. The negative ones actually require a bit of some digging, because some of its effects are not short, they are long term. So if you do not actually take intentional, deliberate decisions to actually dig these out, you will actually not be able to see them. Let's move away from work and everything. Let's talk about parenting. If you're going to be a parent in this era, especially for those children who are being born when this technology is already there, it is part of their environment, it is part of their life. They are literally not adapting to it, they are actually growing with it. What kind of impact does it have on a developing brain? What kind of impact does this technology have in the early education of your children? How does it affect their emotional intelligence? How does it affect most of these? Have you thought about that? And the issue is, your children are not growing up in a vacuum either. Sooner or later, they will come into contact with this technology, whether you do not expose it to them right now, but they'll definitely come into contact with it. So, what are you doing to prepare them for this? Are you teaching them some of the basic principles that you think will actually be helpful for them? Or are you letting them to go and figure it out themselves? Now, this may look simple, and that is one of the things about life. Some of the important reasons are those that do not push you. They are those which don't look like an emergency. But if you ask me, the effect that AI has on all industries, the educational industry, the health, the creative industry, on personal levels, relationships, spirituality, and all of these things is one of the most important things that we should be talking about if we're actually going to be getting the best out of this. Because soon, one thing, you don't even need to do anything. If you just observe, you will see that AI has, in a good way, disrupted almost how everything is being done. A lot of the things are actually being automated. Some of the things are being augmented with AI. If you're a student, you will discover that in a short period of time, you've been using AI to help you do almost everything that you're doing. And I'm sure even educators are doing the same thing. This wide impact is a very important factor. And trust me, if you just dig around, if you just decide to educate yourself, you will discover that there are negative impacts. Now, why have I spent time on the negatives? The negatives is because it is one of the things that we rarely look at. This is one of the things that we rarely talk about. We emphasize the positives, which is very good. And you should actually engage in this technology to actually learn of the positives. But you should take a more balanced approach and also learn about the negative impact so that you can actually get the best out of this. The number two reason is this technology is growing at an exponential rate. Now, maybe just before the year 2020, 2022, somewhere there, I didn't even know anything about machine learning and AI. The only reason as to why I got to learn about this being in medical school is because, these large language models which came out, ChatGPT, and it could give you answers. For example, like you could literally ask it a question, could copy a question, and it will give you. Those were some of the things that actually prompted us to actually go into this. But this technology has been existing for quite some time. The fact that there's been this breakthrough. But if you're just going to look at in the space of, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, the amount of improvement that these models are able to do, it is definitely not a linear growth. Now, one of the illustrations that I got from one of the courses that I did on Coursera from Stanford on machine learning in healthcare, one of the illustrations that they gave, which I think is going to make you realize the importance of this exponential growth and why it is important for you as you're considering adapting to this technology is this story or legend of a person who invented chess, and the king said they're going to give anything to this person because of this wonderful invention. And this person, instead of mentioning the amount of gold and everything he wanted, he just said, okay, put 1 grain of rice, put it on the chessboard and see it is going to be doubled every time until it reaches the final end. Now there are like 64, if I'm not mistaken, 64 boxes on the chessboard. And the king was like, okay, this is a very dumb idea. Because really, if you think about it, I don't know, he's going to have like a heap of rice at the end. What's that? But the king underestimated the power of exponential growth. So the thing is, this continued to grow to the point that if you do your mathematics correct, when you come to the last box, it's actually at 18 quintillion. This literally actually bankrupted the entire kingdom. So it's a legend, quite right, and it's a story, but it actually communicates to you to say the amount of growth that has just happened in 4 years. If you can think about the amount of growth that is going to happen in this technology in the next 10 to 15 years, it is going to be so massive and so significant that if you are left behind now, you will find it much, much harder to catch up. Now, the framework that I'm going to give you is going to be a suggestion as to how you can actually medicate around this. And trust me, you don't have to be an AI expert. I definitely am not. But there are some of these things that you can definitely do that are within your control if these are important things. Now, with these things that I have mentioned as important reasons, if they appeal to you, then let's go to the next step, which I just want to give you a basic framework of what you should do in order for you to adapt to this technology adequately. Now, the first thing from this framework that I would like you to actually just think about is number one, engage. What I mean by this is, see, you lose nothing. Try to engage yourself in this technology. With whichever work you are doing, just try to see how you can actually engage yourself. But you're not engaging yourself without knowledge. You're just exposing yourself to what this thing is doing. And for most of us, this is actually going to be something that we're already doing. Most of my viewers of my channels, actually, when you look at my stats, are usually youths. And for youths, I definitely know that you're coming in contact with this technology and you're definitely working with it. So if you have engaged yourself into working with it, then that's good. That's very good and it's perfectly fine. But it is from this where if you don't do the next thing, you are going to be reaping both the positives and both the negatives. But we want to increase the positives and reduce the negatives. And how do we do that? Education. Now, this looks very simple, but I'll explain. So on education is, see, most of the time when these large language models are working, it's literally you at the interface. You literally just punch in and see what it can do. That's not education. What I mean by this is try to get a basic understanding, the basic principles of how this thing works. So do your basics. How does it work? How does it generate that? How does it give you answers? Why is it that two people can put the same prompt and it gives two different answers? If you put in the same prompt at different times, it will give you two different answers. What are the limitations? What are the strengths? What are the possible negative impacts? What are the implications of those negative impacts? Like, get a general understanding and help yourself. And the basic fundamental understanding of how this technology works is going to be so good in the sense that regardless of all the improvements that are going to be happening after this time, they are going to be building on top of a foundation that is already laid. Therefore, by getting a basic understanding of how this works and why it works the way it works, its limitations and how that limitation relates to the actual way it actually works, how the models are trained and everything, it is going to ensure that with the exponential growth that is going to be happening to this technology, your adaptation is not going to have a lot of friction. You're going to be growing with it even as it continues to grow. Now, in case I did not mention, which I hope I have, I am literally just a medical student. I am in medicine. And the other thing which I'm doing is in the educational sector. I'm also a teacher in training. Literally no background in ICT, literally no background in computer science. And if I was to start explaining to you how this technology works, you may find that my understanding is literally basic. It's very fundamental. But it definitely is informed. You don't need to be an expert, and you don't need to be doing this so that you can get a job in a tech company or anything. What I'm just trying to communicate to you that it is responsible, it is practical, it is actually reasonable for you to learn the basics of this technology. The second thing in the education is specialize, and I'm going to explain what I mean by this. By specialized, I do not mean that you should go and, do the mathematics and everything and learn everything. What I just mean is look at the industries you're working in. Look at the things that you're doing in which you're providing value and impact. If you're into the educational sector, if you're a psychologist, if you're in the health sector, you are whichever way you are working in, try to gain just a bit of some expertise of how this technology is affecting that specific sector. By doing that, you're going to be in a bit better place for you to actually advise in terms of implementing and also making sure that you are involved in the reasoning behind the regulations of using all of these things. And so you don't need to know everything, but at least know how it affects what you're doing. Get that understanding and specialize. And if you do these things, I think, it's a personal opinion, you're going to be far much more prepared to meet the exponential growth. You're going to be far much more prepared to mitigate around the negative impacts, some of them that we don't even know yet, some of them which have not been observed or demonstrated when they are actually known. It is going to make you relevant. It is going to actually make you a person who is going to be helpful when it comes to this technology. Just using the technology is not enough. You need to know something about it, because it is quite a very powerful technology and its growth is going to be very fast. Therefore, this is my suggestion and I hope that you take it seriously. Alright guys, that's it for today. Now if you like this video, remember to share and subscribe to my channel if you're watching this on YouTube, and also like and follow my page if you're watching this on Facebook. See you next time.